Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Wildtree Wednesday at G Free Deliciously. I'm Kimberly, and thanks for coming into my kitchen. This week, we're doing a Berbere Shrimp Curry. This recipe has got all those warm, wonderful, spicy flavors, and we've Americanized the recipe a little bit from an Ethiopian traditional dish. So this recipe is all about the Ethiopian spice blend, which is really the backbone of Ethiopian cuisine. And I'm using this week, we're featuring the Ethiopian spice blend from Wildtree. It's very aromatic, has over a dozen spices to make the blend. It's part of our autumn fair cooking collection that is available right now through Wildtree through the end of the month. The other items in the cooking collection are the Blazing Buffalo blend. If you've caught some of prior weeks Wildtree Wednesdays, I've used that blend. It also has a seasonal limited product. This is the Spice Cranberry Jam, and I'm looking forward to making a dessert coming up through the holidays with that. And then we've got our rancher steak rub, which is really a all-purpose sort of seasoning. I use the rancher steak rub just about every day. It is a blend of pepper and garlic and onion and a little bit of salt. So it's very, very good. And then if you're going to take a look at ordering the cooking collection blend or any of these products, the only limited one that you cannot get any other way other than the cooking collection would be that cranberry. But each of the other things are individually able to be ordered. I would also suggest that you add to your shopping cart some of our natural grapeseed oil. It's a high heat oil. It's wonderful for cooking and baking, and you will just love it. I use that all the time too. So today I've gotten started. I've done a few shortcuts. I pre-cooked our sweet potato that's going into this recipe, and pre-cooked also the cauliflower going into the recipe. And I've got going already today with the onions combined with the grapeseed oil in the pan here, so that they would start becoming translucent and I wouldn't have to wait on that. So I'm just going to set the items over here to get them more out of the way. And we can get going with putting together the rest of this wonderful, flavorful shrimp curry. So Ethiopia's national dish is doro wat, and what that is, it's actually a chicken type of stew. And to my onions and my oil here, I'm going to add in now the sweet potatoes and let them start warming up as I tell you a little bit more about this Ethiopian blend and the foods that you can make with it. Just stirring this. We want the onions. Most Ethiopian stews using the Berbere spice blend will start out with a lot of onions. So I used a nice size onion, not super large, but just a real good size, a little bit larger than medium, I would say, between a medium and large size onion. And I diced that up and put it in my pot. So this is really an autumn inspired version, like I said, and it swaps out the chicken uh, in the traditional Ethiopian dish for a Berbere chicken dish. We've swapped that out today for fresh shrimp. And then we've also added in the sweet potato, cauliflower, and peas to make it extra hearty and comforting in that for a fall dish. Now, from what I read, in that Dora Watt is many times served by Ethiopian Jews as a Christmas dish. And I'm guessing that that's why Wildtree put that into our recipes for this month. So I'm just stirring a little bit more so that everything can become a little more cooked and flavorful. Again, like I said, because I wanted this recipe to go pretty fast, I pre-cooked my sweet potatoes going in here. So as soon as the onions are translucent and the sweet potatoes are warm through, or beginning to cook and they're warm through, and that next we're going to add in the crushed tomatoes. You're going to want to have 24 ounces of crushed tomatoes. As you can see here, I've got homemade crushed tomatoes that are going into this recipe, and I'm going to use 2 pints, which is going to be, it's about 14.5 ounces to a pint, somewhere around there when you have the correct head space. So if you're buying, you can buy a 28-ounce can, or 2 14.5-ounce cans will also work. So we're just adding that in. I'm going to stir it around just a tiny bit. And now I'm going to add in a full can of coconut milk here. And this is what's going to make the curry. And that, so it's going to become very creamy and wonderful as it cooks. Again, like most of the Wildtree recipes featured, it really comes together pretty quickly. I'll just set that to the side. And then I've got a full 2 tablespoons of the Ethiopian spice that I'm adding in here. It sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. It's going to come together just beautifully. And you want to stir it up. And as this begins to simmer and come all together with the flavors coming all together, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this interesting spice here. I've got the spice, and the fragrant spice really starts coming through. It's a warm, spicy, sweet, and citrusy sort of elements to the spice. And most Berbere blends do include over a dozen different spices in that. And as it cooks, it will just thicken a little bit, becoming quite wonderful. So the key ingredient to a Berbere spice is going to be red chili peppers, fenugreek, and ginger. And then it includes other warm spices like coriander and cinnamon and cumin and allspice, peppercorns, cloves, and cinnamon. So you kind of get all of that as this starts to combine and cook up very rich, warm flavors, decadent flavors that come into all of that. And they're all spices that are found in everyday Ethiopian cooking. And the Wildtree uses all of those in the spice blend. Now, I just want to say a little bit about why I really love spice blends too, because we're all limited in space in our kitchens, right? So the number one reason that I like spice blends is because it saves real estate in your cupboard. Secondly, having a spice blend, using a spice blend, you don't have to do a lot of pre-measuring. If you're using a spice blend, even if you're using another recipe, the way to use a spice blend would be if it uses 5 or 6 or however many different spices in the recipe that you just kind of add up. Half teaspoon equals 1 teaspoon. You add it all together and you'll come up with the total amount that you can use for the blend. So I love doing that because it makes it so simple. It's a no-brainer. You don't have to think a whole lot about it. And especially when you're putting together a meal on a busy weeknight, everything is easy to do and it goes very, very quickly. So the Wildtree blend is a paprika-based blend, and as it comes together, then it also includes over a dozen spices. In Ethiopia, Ethiopia is part of Africa, as you know, and really depending on where in Africa, people who make the spices or the blend themselves, cooks who make it at home, it depends exactly what they put in it, because depending on where you go, the blend is going to taste a little bit different always. It can vary a little from region to region, even household to household, and also depending on the indigenous tribes in that, and the different spices and combinations that they use. So there's no one way to do a Berbere spice. And this, I'm just going to turn up a little bit more so that we get a good simmer on this, because I want the shrimp to cook quickly in that, so that they become translucent. It's a sunny day here again in Wisconsin. Our temperatures have been fluctuating kind of up and down. You never know what to expect. That's one of the jokes around here. Just wait 5 minutes and you'll have another season. And the smells coming off of this dish are really, really wonderful. Hoping that you can see the actual creamy color of the dish. It's tomatoey and almost like a tomato soup base this curry makes. So you also can use the Ethiopian spice blend to flavor many other foods. And I'll tell you a little more about that in a minute. But before I do, while we're waiting here, I also want to let you know that when you order the cooking collection each month, you'll get 8 recipes. You'll also receive a digital recipe card for each of the recipes. It looks kind of like this. On the front side is a nice picture of the recipe. You'll have how many servings, your prep time, cook times, nutritional information, and then of course the grocery list for making it. And then over on the opposite side, in 1 to 6 steps usually, and that it'll run down through the recipe. And then you've got your ingredients and your kitchen tools as well. So it's a handy reference. I've been getting several people come in with different ideas about how they are going to be saving those. Now I'm going to add in the cauliflower here. And again, I pre-cooked the cauliflower last night so that I didn't have to wait on it too long. My pot is getting very full, so I think I'm going to have to be super careful here. But we don't have a lot left to go into it. We've got the potatoes, the onion, the tomatoes, the cauliflower, and it's all warming through really nicely. And I'm just about ready to add my shrimp. So again, I got my shrimp. I started getting ready for this recipe last night, and I got my shrimp all into a bowl with some cool water and added in a couple tablespoons of lemon juice and some salt. And then as soon as those were thawed, I also detailed them so that they're ready to go in this recipe. And, you know, if you're busy coming home from work or something, one of the nice things about doing a little pre-prep like this is that within 15 to 20 minutes, absolute maximum, you can have your dinner ready to go. So now I've got my shrimp here, and I've got my peas all measured out. So I'm going to add those peas in. I've got just half a cup of peas. And again, I've used frozen. Oh, I just remembered I wanted to tell you. So you can use frozen sweet potato and frozen cauliflower. At the store, they call them steamers and that, but they're ready to go. Those work really super well for this. Or you could use, if you're more of a do-it-yourself kind of gal or person, and that you can use fresh and cut it down. So I did use a fresh sweet potato. One sweet potato gave me plenty for this recipe. And then you're going to want to use a small head of cauliflower. A small head is going to equal about 10 to 12 ounces of a frozen cauliflower. And you just want to, when you take it out of the package before putting it into the stew, you just want to break it down, cut it down into smaller pieces and that. So this looks like it's ready to go. I've got my shrimp all detailed and ready to go in. There's a little extra moisture in the bottom of the bowl, so I don't want to add that to the stew because I want to keep the stew nice and thick. And I'm being super careful so that I don't go over the edges. Always start with a big enough pot. So I'm just going to let those set in there for 10 to 15 minutes. It's really going to depend on the heat of your fire, how long it takes for these to become pink or so that they're opaque, and that they will become a little bit pink in color. I'm just going to try to get them down in there a little bit further. So ways to use this Ethiopian spice blend. And those are starting to get yummy looking. I made a few notes just so that I don't forget here. So the Ethiopian spice blend, the Berbere spice, is really essential for Ethiopian cooking. And if you blend it with oil or water and honey, you can make a wonderful paste out of it that is called a waze. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. It's A-W-A-Z-E. My Indian friends out there will probably tell me I really messed this up, but it does make a paste that you can use as a condiment and that to serve with meats and the like. It is tasty, super tasty to rub on grilled vegetables, fish, poultry for grilling or frying. You can use it in vegetable or bean type dishes, so with lentils. Again, it's wonderful in different stews. A dry rub for meats. You also could possibly use it for a dip. You could season, my mind is running away with me here, but you could use it to season chickpeas and then roast the chickpeas for a little spicy chickpea snack, or thing that you might set out during the holidays. And you also could whisk it into Greek yogurt or sour cream to make a dip or a sauce to accompany meats, or to dip with fresh vegetables. That would be really, really good too. And that. So stew in Ethiopia is traditionally served with injera, I think is how you say the name of this bread. It's I-N-J-E-R-A, and it is a Ethiopian fermented sourdough flatbread that is used for dipping and eating with stews. I just discovered this and I can't wait to try some of it myself. By the time I figured that part out, to go with this recipe, I was out of time for today. Otherwise, I would have pre-made some of that to show you, to serve alongside. And these shrimp are just about done. Although we're serving this stew in autumn, in fall, as a fall dish, another thing that I wanted to tell you is don't necessarily let the seasons dictate when you can eat some of these foods. I'm a big believer of eating what sounds good, eating the foods that appeal to you any time of the year. So don't feel like this is only an autumn dish. And the shrimp here is nice and opaque. So I'm going to dish some of this up for you. My pot is steaming and the smells are wonderful. So we'll just put a little together here so that you can see how beautiful this is. Let's see, let's get a shrimp to put right up on top. And so a little on the edge of the bowl. I want it to look pretty for you after all. So I'm going to set that there, and my cameraman is going to do his magic by showing you just how beautiful this stew looks. And while he's doing that, I'm also going to set the pot of stew over so that you can see how pretty that is. And I can't wait for you to try this recipe. It is so delicious. Thank you very much for joining me this week in my kitchen for another Wildtree Wednesday. I hope you enjoy this recipe. Please feel free to share it and like it with all your friends. Send me a comment if you do like the recipe so that I can see, how it's going for you. And if you made it, let me know, because I love to see, and feel free to share your pictures too. As always, I love you. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next week. The recipe will be up on G Free Deliciously. Take care.